excited to be here and grateful for the opportunity. Thank you, everyone at NAILBA, for the chance to speak today and share with you some incredible expertise from two amazing panelists. My name is Kelly Lytle, and I have the honor of hosting for them today, which I'm incredibly excited about. I'm the VP of Customer Experience for Proformex, overseeing all of our customer relationships as well as all of our product. And like I said, I think we have a pretty neat panel and neat concept here all around the digital shift and how are we maximizing service and technology today. And if you think about it, we are all surrounded and really inundated with technology, right? Not a week goes by or not even a day goes by sometimes that there's some new piece of technology that you could adopt, you could bring into your work life, you could bring into your personal life. And as we think about this ocean of possibilities of what you could do, I think it's incredibly vital and incredibly important to think critically and strategically to understand what you should do. And really, what are you doing to maximize or create new value for your customers, for your partners, for your teams internally, whatever the case may be. And that's why we have two amazing panelists. They are industry leaders, they are change makers. They have built, they have led, and they have grown teams to achieve amazing successes. And I'm excited for them to share their expertise and their experiences and their knowledge for you, not just about how they're maximizing technology inside of their businesses, but how they're thinking about the future and how to use technology to best shape and best position themselves for ongoing success. And so with that, let me introduce each of them. So first up is Debbie Hannam. And Debbie is president of Brokers Clearinghouse, residing in West Des Moines, Iowa. Debbie began her career with a Des Moines domiciled life insurance carrier, Hawkeye National Life, working in a sales capacity. Debbie has over 35 years of experience working directly with financial advisors and their clients. Her passion for finding the right solution for clients has never wavered, and permeates the same philosophy, and she permeates the same philosophy within the BCH team. Along with her experiences in the industry, Debbie's professional interests include having served as the past president of the local Iowa FPA organization, as a NAILBA board member of NAIFA, the Women in Financial Services, and she serves on various insurance career advisory boards. So thank you. I can't wait to dive in.
You're welcome.
Next up is Greg Roventini. Greg joined First Protective in 2018 as National Sales Manager, and he's been in the financial services industry for nearly 30 years. His experience is split between roles in retail and distribution, as well as in personal production and leadership at several national firms. This gives him an incredible ability and really unique insight to understand the needs of everyone that he serves. As a sales leader, his focus is to improve the outcomes of individuals, of families, of business owners through the development of a consultative sales force, agent training and development, and point of sale support. Greg uses technology to find ways for his sales team and agents to be more efficient and more proactive in their relationships with clients. Greg, it is awesome to have you here. Excited to have you joining us.
Happy. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Perfect. So with that as the intro, let's jump in because I think everyone wants to hear from you two, and I have spoken enough already. So, it goes without saying, every moment of our lives is now shaped by technology, some way, shape, or form. There's been incredible shifts over the last 10, 11, 12 months or so, but we're surrounded by it. But what I'm interested in knowing, and Debbie, we'll start with you, as you look out at your business, what are the one or two most critical areas of your business where you're leaning on technology to help you succeed today?
So thanks, Kelly. You know, it was interesting. I'm going to back up just a little bit because as did everyone when this first started, everybody kind of froze a little bit as to what are we going to do? How are we going to reach out to our advisors? How are the advisors going to reach out to the consumers? And while we started with the Zoom videos or Loom videos or whatever digital platform, video platforms everybody's using, it came apparent to us that we were prepared and maybe living in the Midwest with snowstorms and things like that, we were really prepared from a remote standpoint. So when that happened, boom, we had no interruption in our business and everything flowed beautifully. But you know, that didn't happen with a lot of people. But the advisors specifically, we realized they really didn't know what to do. They didn't even know what Zoom video even was. So we kind of had to back up a little bit and take the standpoint that we needed to educate them and teach them and just get them in a comfort level of working in this digital Zoom video world. So we really worked hard in trying to educate them on that first. And then they had to do obviously the same thing with their consumers. They had to take it, you know, just one step further. So for us, it was very important from a sales standpoint that we embraced any kind of software or anything that was going to help us take applications the most efficient way we possibly could, have all of the e-signature platforms that we needed because we knew there was going to be a problem. Once it got to the advisor, that was one issue, but then the advisor to the consumer. So we were fortunate that we had a software platform for easy drop ticket applications. Plus, we really educated our advisors on the whole IGO e-application delivery process. So that really helped us because, you know, what do you do? How do you do it? What's the next steps? Right. And I think it was frightening for most advisors, but everybody, I think, did a beautiful job of moving into that world the best they could. But then, you know, the next layer was the consumers. And a lot of them, some of them even struggled with having emails available. So that part's been challenging, but it's amazing. We're pretty resistant people and we've all been able to pivot pretty well, I think.
Yeah, that's great. And I definitely want to, we're going to come to that in just a little bit, because to me, there's a really interesting intersection between the human element and the technology element. And I'm going to, you know, we're not going to go there quite yet, but I do want each of your opinions on how you're maintaining that sort of, you know, human interconnectedness, you know, despite whether it's, you know, most recent times or, you know, as we look out into the future. But before we do that, you know, Greg, from your standpoint, you know, what are the key, you know, core elements of technology that you're leveraging? And as you know, maybe think about, okay, how do I need to embrace or get our teams to embrace technology? What are you really evaluating and looking for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, you know, I think, you know, as Debbie mentioned, this is probably our primary form of technology we use continuously, right? We are getting zoomed out every single day, right? It seems like, you know, what used to be a human daily, you know, interaction where you'd go out and you'd break bread together has now turned into, you know, let's have a happy hour at 5 p.m. and let's do it on Zoom, right? So it's been really interesting to see how our sales teams, the agents and advisors that we work with have shifted. And to Debbie's point, I think early on, it was challenging for a lot of folks to kind of shift to this type of platform where we can see each other and realize that the relationship can be maintained and actually get stronger through this type of a platform that we're using right now, something as simple as Zoom, right? So, you know, that's one area where we're obviously leveraging a tremendous amount of technology. But I'd say some of the core areas that we look at, to Debbie's point, the drop ticket platforms that we have access to have been extremely valuable to our agency. We use iPipeline's IGO. We've been using it for a number of years, and it's been a very successful platform for us insofar as helping our advisors be more efficient in their practice of taking applications. Being that we're part of the Libra organization, we do quite a bit of our electronic tickets through Vive, as well as the IGO platform for carriers that are not part of the IGO system. So, or I'm sorry, yes, for carriers that are not part of the Vive system, my apologies. So, you know, that was extremely helpful, especially as, you know, you realize that you're not going to be able to get in front of a client and get a signed application, right?
Right.
We are heavily looking into all of, you know, the capabilities around e-signature right now. Certainly, we want to make the point-to-point process of taking the application to delivering the policy as seamless and easy as possible. And yes, the challenge of people not having email addresses comes up quite often when you think about the fact that in order to do an e-signature, you need to have an email address, right? So that's obviously been a big area for us over the past, you know, 9, 10, 11 months. We're currently investing in a new AMS system, as well as a CRM system to help us kind of keep track of our conversations. That's a big area for us. And then, of course, in-force policy management has been a big area for us this year. And looking at, you know, this big book of business that we've built over 30 years or so that we've been around. So, you know, we're looking at a lot of different things right now. The thing that the pandemic has done for me is given me time, not traveling as much to, you know, really evaluate some of the different resources that are available out there and see how they might be beneficial for not only us, but the agents we serve and their clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think, Greg, since you mentioned it, obviously Proformex, right? We are an in-force management platform and technology solution. So in-force monitoring, in-force service is near and dear to my heart. But I want to, and Greg, we'll start with you, you know, as you look out into the landscape and say, you know, maybe you're looking at the next 12 months, the next 24 months, what do you see for your business as, you know, the critical or the emerging needs where, you know, you need to get in front of and you need to leverage, you know, whether it's a new technology solution or something else, you know, to get in front of that? I'm curious to know, you know, kind of what you see as an emerging element where you just know you have to get in front of it.
Great question. So, you know, I think one of the areas where we're putting a lot of time, energy, and effort into is getting better connectivity with our agents and prospects, right? So we're evaluating platforms that can help us develop relationships through marketing, you know, whether they be something as simple as LinkedIn, right? And using some of the LinkedIn platforms to get better understanding about who it is that you're meeting with, who it is that you're talking to, the type of business that they run, how do they kind of fit in this new virtual world, right? And I think LinkedIn is a great place to start with that. We are evaluating, you know, other e-platforms for, you know, drop ticket or electronic order submission, like Firelight, right? I think our goal whenever we're looking at something is to ultimately create more efficiency for our producers. And I think it comes down to two things whenever we're looking at any kind of platform. If it can help us save some time and or make more money, then it's absolutely worthwhile for us to take a look at it. And I think the way we look at it as well, if that platform can then do the same for the people that we're working with, then it's going to be very beneficial for us to really take a hard look at it and see how we can implement it to effectively help our clients.
Yeah. And what I really love there too, Greg, is, you know, obviously anytime, right? If you're able to implement something, save time, make money, that's going to go a long way to obviously helping, you know, yourself. But, everyone else you're working with. But what I love is the thread coming through of, keeping connectivity, or instilling connectivity, keeping that human element, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's other marketing platforms, but really the interconnectedness that, you're leveraging, different elements of technology as a springboard to perhaps enhance a relationship. And so I find that, really, really interesting. Debbie, on your side, obviously you've had a hand, I think, in shaping, probably some incredibly instrumental changes, across the industry, with your deep experience. So, same question to you as you look, 12 months out, 24 months out, and kind of take stock of your own business. What's emerging on your side, and what are you saying we have to stay in front of this or get in front of this, and we're going to have to use technology, whether it's existing technology or something new, to do it?
Yeah, so a couple things, Kelly, that we're looking at. Everybody's in the same boat, right? Quicker, bigger, better, whatever that means. I think I just made that up, but
we're good. You've trademarked it. So we're here. So now the record exists. So you're
QBB, quicker, better.
Yeah. Along with that, though, you don't, back to the humanization, you don't want to lose that relationship that you have with people, but you still need to be efficient. And to your point, Greg, financially, it has to definitely make sense.
That's right.
What we're seeing, a couple things, retrieving APSs, that seems to be the bane of our industry right now, because obviously everything's taking longer. So, you have copy services that are, it used to take 4 weeks. Now it's 6 weeks or even 8 weeks, or it's lost in the shuffle or something. And you have people exiting out of there. It's really become a big problem. It has to be one of the most non-rewarding jobs out there that there might be, is having to retrieve medical records. So that's something we're really looking into. How can we get the information quicker? There's definitely some services out there that are beneficial, like Happy and some of those, where we can get those within 2 or 3 days.
Sure.
But as with anything, that needs to be refined, and we've got to get that figured out as an industry, how we can resolve that issue. So that's one thing we're looking at. The other thing I would say is, for us, we seem to be emerging into some other markets that we weren't in before, and that we're feverishly going after, such as the wealth management space. That's a whole different space. They're not as educated in insurance as the old insurance advisors were. So, education is really big with them. But plus, how do we extract information out of their financial systems, like e-money, so to speak? When the information's sitting there, there's the need. How do we get that to translate into, you need insurance, or you need to have a review on your existing policy? It just kind of gets glazed over. They talk about it and they kind of check that box off. I mentioned it, or I talked about it, so we're good. Well, no, there's a lot of things that need to happen. So how do we integrate the information they already have sitting there into some kind of automated system, so that it generates, hey, let's do a review on this policy. It spits out something that goes to the agency for review. Or we have a gap in insurance with long-term care. What do we need to do to accommodate that? So that's going to be a big press for us, is to try to figure that out. And maybe that's software that needs to be made. I don't know, but we're working on that, and we're trying to figure out different ways, kind of taking baby steps to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kelly, I'm gonna just expand on my comment from before. So one of the areas that's just come onto my radar, probably in the last I don't know, few months, is, especially, you mentioned, Debbie, about registered investment advisors, money managers, wealth managers, things along those lines. This whole fiduciary standard that that's been implemented is a big challenge, I think, for us. And what I mean by that is, especially if you've got institutional clients who might have RIA practices, they're looking to us to help them understand the due diligence process around life insurance, around annuities, around long-term care. You know, how do we select one carrier and one carrier's product over the other carrier and the other carrier's product? You know, maybe it's not only a pricing decision any longer. Maybe it's a pricing plus decision. What does that plus really come down to, right? And so I think as we all kind of look at these new markets, these blue ocean opportunities that we might have, the RIA is something that I hear all of my peers in the industry talking about. It's being that client that has the clients, they've got assets under management. Those people have needs, and to date, they probably haven't had any of those needs solved, either through financial planning or whatever else. And so we've got to be in a position to help them. So when they come to us, they're going to ask us, hey, how did you come up with XYZ carrier versus ABC carrier, right? How did you choose, you know, 1, 2, 3 IUL versus 4, 5, 6 IUL, right? Whatever it might be, they're going to come to us and they're going to want that, and they're going to want it documented, because they're going to need to have that documentation to satisfy their own fiduciary standard requirements.
Yeah, you're right. You know, the first step with that, Greg, is really recognizing that if you're going to tout yourself as a holistic financial planner, the whole
Right.
fiduciary comment, you've got to touch on risk management. You can't forego that. You can't just check that box off, or, you know, somebody's going to blow the whistle on you at some point in time.
The good old okey doke.
Right.
Nope, we
Right.
talked about it.
So, you know, educating them to understand that to begin with is step one.
Yep.
And I think if we all as an industry really target that, it's going to be beneficial to everybody. And then we have to make sure that we have everything in place so that they can document what they need on their end.
Yeah. And, you know, what's interesting, you know, I think, you know, talked about, you know, okay, why did you consider XYZ product or this VUL over this product and that sort of thing? And so having that, you know, repository or that system of record, and being able to go back to it, right? Because ultimately we want to ensure we're working in the service of the policy owners and their beneficiaries and doing right by them and making sure that protection plan is in place. So then that naturally brings up a question for me. You know, Debbie, I'll sort of point this to you. When you think about ongoing in-force management, ongoing client management, multitudes of carriers, multitudes of products, a ton of different decision points that may have gone into, you know, the selection of any given, you know, product. All of that changes over time. All of that evolves over time. How do you, you know, sort of think about going about managing that, you know, ongoing client or in-force business?
I am so happy that you brought this topic up, because I couldn't wait to get to this point. It's a real frustration, and I'm pretty transparent. Anybody who knows me, I pretty much say it like it is. So I apologize for that up front. But you know, it's great to provide the services and the products that we're providing for families, for businesses. We are doing wonderful things, and thank you to our partner carriers for giving us the products and everything we need to do what we do. However, when it comes down to, you know, claims and information on policies and policies that are lapsing and nobody knows about it, client management is a real problem that we're dealing with. And
Sure.
It's very rare to have a carrier who has this really figured out good systems for client management, that they're notifying everybody that should be notified early on before there's a problem with the policy. It doesn't do any of us any good to get a lapse notice. That means it's too late. So, you know, all the carriers right now, if they're listening, it's something we all need. We've got to have good data, and we have to be able to have a good client management system that's going to notify us properly. And it's all over the board for distribution right now. Some you have to go out online yourself, and some the advisors can do, some the BGAs can do. Some they send you information. It's a real problem, and you know, we want to do right by the consumer and make sure that they're being taken care of, like we've made those promises up front. The other thing I would say to that is that very appreciative of people like Proformex, Kelly, because, well, you know, it's providing us with something that we really didn't have before. And it's gathering all that information. I'm glad you're gathering all that information from the carriers, and I have nothing to do with that. It's been helpful. It's been helpful to have that information in one place where we can see alerts and things like that that are alerting us that there's problems on policies, so that we can address them early on and try to take care of them as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Could you imagine being an agent who has written several hundred policies, you know, over a 5, 10, 20-year period of time, whatever it might be, and trying to have to keep up with, you know, all of these different policies, everything that could possibly be happening with them, cash values. Imagine the time, energy, and effort that goes into having somebody on their staff, having to call the carriers to get in force. Yeah, it's one of those processes that certainly our agents are clamoring for, right? Hey, how can you help me be more efficient on this? And frankly, I said before, save time, make more money. It's both. You're saving time and potentially making more money. If you know you find that a policy that you wrote 20 years ago is down to its last couple of months, and you had absolutely you didn't even remember that it's coming up for. You know, it's got to be converted, right? All of a sudden, the client has no idea either. Now, all of a sudden, you give that producer a call and you say, "Hey, you've got this policy. We've got to talk about it. It's gonna, you know, we're gonna need to make a decision as to whether we convert it in the next couple of months." Great call to make.
And when you look at all of the advisors that have exited the business, you know, maybe they're in the business for 3 to 5 years, they exit the business, and who's taking care of those policyholders?
Yeah.
Yep. Kudos to what you're doing.
There's orphans all over the place, no doubt.
It's and what's, you know, I think, you know, I know, you know, at Proformex we think this way, but I know, you know, Debbie and Greg in our conversations, it starts with getting the data, right? Aggregating the data, helping surface and visualize the data, but right, then it becomes, how do we take it a step further so we can help you all be proactive, right? And ultimately have those conversations, Greg, that you were mentioning, or Debbie, get in front of those, you know, lapsing policies earlier, right? And that's, I think, you know, what's most critical. And I think where, and hopefully we as an industry continue to go is to continue the proactive approach and to stay in front of it, because those become even more meaningful conversations and opportunities, you know, for servicing.
That's right. Well, our policy data, I would imagine this is true at pretty much every agency or every BGA, right? I mean, our policy data is static. We know what happened when we sold the policy. That's pretty much it. We know what was put in force, and we know how much the premium was when it was put in force. That's all we know. We just know that part of, you know, that period of time. So 5 years down the road, we have no idea whether that policy is still in force. We have no idea whether that, you know, if it's a cash value policy, whether that cash value has actually, you know, increased and grown like we thought it would. It's just we have so little visibility into it without the help of a company like Proformex, no doubt.
Yeah, and that's one policy, let alone 50 policies, 100 policies, 10,000, 25,000 policies.
50, 100,000 policies. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, to defend the carriers a little bit, since I might have picked on them a little bit. You know, you look at all the mergers and acquisitions that have happened at that level, and all the systems that they have to deal with. I mean, my goodness, when you're dealing with 13 to 15 different systems that have to sing to each other, but there's been several occasions where we've called and it's something completely different than what's supposed to be there. And what happened to the 100,000 of cash value that was in this policy 2 months ago, and now it's not there. So, you know, that's a concern too. I know they struggle with that, and that's got to be something very difficult for them to deal with on a daily basis. But usually it ends up, we find the money, so everything's good.
You know, so you know, I just want to you know, kind of you know, kind of sort of wrap this and think about, you know, if there was one takeaway, right, that you wanted everyone listening, everyone tuning in to have, what would that one takeaway be? We'll keep it focused on, how implementing technology or leveraging technology, whether it's to help business grow, whether it's to enhance relationships, right? To, help bring and kind of, broker the gaps of distance. But starting with you, Greg, what's that one takeaway you want anyone listening right now to have and say, you should be thinking about this for your business, or you should be doing this for your business?
Yeah, so for me, my goal is to make things more simple. And I know if I can make the process simpler for our clients, the advisors and agents, the producers that we work with, they're going to come back to us time and time again, right? Beyond that, making the process simple for their clients is going to keep their clients coming back. It's going to give them referrals and everything else. So it's what this whole environment with COVID and everything else has done is really highlighted for me that downline, all right, people want a more simple, streamlined experience. And so what I would say to everybody else who is out there, don't be afraid, right, to look into first of all, take the time right now to look into the different types of platforms that are out there. And don't be afraid to take the jump in and pilot something, see how it can be impactful for your agency. Just take, you can take a baby step. And then when you see it's impactful, you understand how it works, then you can jump in, bathing suit on and get wet, right? And go swimming. That would be first and foremost. But to your point, I would look at things for any agency out there, look at things that are going to streamline the process, whether it be on the front end in drop ticket or any of the e-ticket type of platforms. If you haven't instituted those already, jump in there and try and look at how those can be beneficial. If you are like us and you've been in business for 100, not 100 years, but, like 30 years and you've been working with people and you've got a huge in-force block, you want to take a look at that and see how you can help your producers understand the dynamics of that block and what can be done with it and how to help their clients with that. So my primary piece of advice is be open-minded, take some risks, and little baby steps are fine first, but do something right now when you're being faced and forced to try to meet the needs of the clients, which are simplicity today.
Great. Debbie, on your side, what would that one takeaway, that one, element you'd want to emphasize to everyone be?
I can answer this quickly, especially since we're probably short on time. Greg said it all. He really did. I don't really need to answer that. No, he really did. I mean, it's streamlining everything and making it easier for everybody is what we all want to do. I would probably say first and foremost, going through a pandemic like this that none of us have been through, It has amplified, in my mind, the need for educating our advisors and our consumers, the need for insurance. Guys, this is the time. Things like this, it's not ever been more important and apparent to me that we've got to do a better job of educating more people. When you look at the stats, it's terrible. The people who don't have insurance, the people who have inadequate insurance, the businesses who don't have buy-sells in place, the key persons in place, all of that, it's critical. And what a great service that we do and provide in our whole industry. So to me, that's the most important, is educating and trying to get the word out as much as we can. But then what Greg said, we've got to be able to streamline it, make it as simple as possible, not exhausting. We have to get away from people looking at insurance as something they don't even want to mess with. It's just too exhausting and I don't want to ask medical questions. It's a great service. You do have to put a little work into it. But if we can make it as simple as possible, then that's what we need to try to do. And then the last thing I would say too, go back to your book of business. Look in your own book, because there's a lot of business sitting out there that conversions and additional coverage and things like that, back to what you guys do, Kelly, I think what you provide brings that out and, you know, more advisors that have that available to them, the easier it's going to be for them to go get into their own book of business.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And Debbie, Greg, appreciate your time. I think I know it was fun for me. I learned a ton. I hope everyone listening did as well. You know, as I think of the notes that I've taken, you know, simplify as you're thinking about technology. Can you use it to simplify? Can you use it to connect, enhance those relationships, right? That are so critical to the business. And can you use it to educate and inform, right? And if you can think about those things, chances are you're really going to be impactful and successful and drive some really meaningful actions for your internal teams, your partners, your customers, your relationships. And I think if we can do that, that's a great success. So thank you both. I appreciate your time. You know, I think in closing, I need to make sure, you know, if you want to connect with Greg Moore or Debbie Moore, you can, you know, check them out online. Links are right there for everyone at First Protective and VCH Life. Of course, Proformex as well. Please come and visit us and say hi. And we also have our NAILBA booth. So again, please drop by, say hello. We always love to chat and talk more. So thank you again for everyone, to everyone for tuning in, and to everyone at NAILBA for this great opportunity. And incredibly appreciative and grateful for everything. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.